Hello and welcome, everybody. I am here again for another interview with a special guest, actually one of my students.
Yay!
And because this is a nighttime interview, cheers, everybody.
Cheers. We are doing it with
Yes,
wine,
yes, of course.
as it is supposed to be.
Yes, it's how it
Actually,
should be. And what are you drinking?
I'm drinking. It's a Mexican wine from Valle de Guadalupe. It's called XA.
Oh, you got the bottle and everything. I just have the glass. I think,
Yeah.
how much of this are you planning on drinking?
Well, it's gonna be an interview with my teacher, so I think I just better open a bottle.
So you've been taking Shakuhachi lessons with me for how long now? 4 months? 5 months? 6 months?
I think it's been around 5 months or so because at the beginning it was kind of like weird, and this last month it's been weird.
Yeah,
You were
yeah.
traveling, I was working a lot.
So, but we've been working together for a fair amount of time now.
Yeah, like
Fair amount of time.
let's say 4 months total.
Okay, 4 months total, and over like a 6-month period. Now, I have one question for you.
I didn't
Um,
practice.
how do you like your lessons?
I love them.
Good.
I love them. Like, yeah, it's just I didn't feel the pressure at all. I don't feel any pressure at all. So
Gulp,
that's why
gulp, gulp.
see, that's why the wine.
I am kind of a strict teacher, I guess, huh?
Well, no, I mean, not for me at least. It's
Well,
been
because
really,
because
it's been really cool.
well, so you're a professional musician and a multi-instrumentalist. You do flute, clarinet, saxophone, Indian instruments, Native American flutes, and a bunch of other stuff too.
Andean flutes, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's
So you're used to learning a bunch of
crazy.
instruments. So
Yeah.
it's most people, they actually can't um take off a couple of weeks like you were able to, because you have, I mean, you're trained at Paris Conservatoire, correct?
Yeah. Well, I studied here in Mexico, and then I did my master's in Oakland, in California.
Oh, okay, okay.
In And then I went to Paris, and I was in Paris for 2 years.
Hmm.
It was a small conservatory there.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
So, and also you speak a bunch of languages too. So English, Spanish, and French.
English, Spanish, French, sarcasm.
Sarcasm is a very important language to speak as a musician.
Yeah, of course. Of course.
So,
Especially if you play in an orchestra.
oh my God, I know that life as a string player, especially as a violist. We are the butt of most of the jokes.
Poor little thing, yeah.
Poor little thing. So, I wanted to have you on to talk about your lessons, and also talk about some of the stuff that you're already doing with Shakuhachi. So, what are some of the things that you like about the lessons, and what are some of the things that you think are not so good as well?
Well, what I really like the most about my lessons with you is that, what can I say? You have a knife there, right? Do you still have the knife? No. Just put it
What do
away.
you like?
No, it's I I I I struggle with the other instruments, especially the ethnic flutes, because there is not the teachers I have found, they don't have, like, you know that Western view of the music.
Mm,
And you studied in a conservatoire, so we kind of speak like the same language, and it's easier for me to communicate whatever doubt I have or whatever thing I, it's really nice in that matter. You understand my backgrounds, and we have kind of like the same backgrounds.
Hmm.
So it's easier for me and uh, to translate in Western notation or Western kind of like music talk
Yeah.
what I
So
want
we
to
can,
do or
yeah, we can kind of bridge. So when we say, we can say some sort of terminology, and then I can translate that to you into the Japanese. So we kind of, because in when Japanese players also learn shakuhachi for the first time, when you
Mhm,
say something like yoin, the
mhm.
person will go, what is that? But then, and then, so Western players, of course, are going to do that same thing. But
Mhm.
then, but if I say to you, rubato, then you go, I know what you're talking about right
Yeah,
away.
yeah, 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 yeah. It's easier. Sorry, my dog is just barking. Okay, sorry.
Yep,
Uh,
no worries. These interviews are not supposed to be like ever like super formal. They have to be this way. Oh my god, a dog barked. It's the end of the world. No, people are watching these because they're generally interested in shakuhachi. They're generally interested in just watching, real
cool,
conversation. So,
cool.
but onto that point of being able to translate into something that we have already studied for a long time that already exists in our lives makes it very much more easier for me to teach that to somebody who's studied that so intensively.
Yeah, 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 yeah. That I mean, that's what I like the most about the lessons that we have. We have a common point, so
Mm,
to speak, that we can converge in one point and we can just talk about it and discuss it, and it's easier to understand for me because of my background and 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 the lessons also are about um, how can I explain it? It's it's really easy and really nice for me that I don't have to be perfect, if you know what I mean.
mm. Oh yeah, yeah.
Like I don't have to be prepared for a concert or like in a conservatoire or
Hmm.
it's like I have like the terminology and I you explain to me how to do it and I kind of like I get the concepts of the music
Hmm.
in terms of how to do it, how it should sound, and the soul of the music, and the flow of the music. And then when I
Hmm.
go and practice, I have those concepts, and it's easier for me to go and like, okay, I can do it this way, I can do it that way, and now I can then make some stuff mine, so
Hmm.
to speak, and it's easier, it's nice.
In Japanese music, and also in a lot of conservatories in Japan, like in a traditional school setting, what a teacher will do is they transmit the way that the piece should be, how the piece should be played, and all this, the notes, and they guide you through it. Once you're able
Mhm.
to play the piece, then they just say something along the lines of, "Yeah, that was good. The piece is now yours. Polish it."
Mhm.
And now what that means is that you have to start playing it, working on it, concertizing, all that kind of stuff. Now, for people who've never been to a conservatory, this would never happen.
No.
No, the way,
No.
and I'd love for you to talk about this more as well. But so I can tell from my experience, this is how conservatory works. You walk into your teacher's room, usually with your tail between your legs,
Uh-huh.
and you are about ready to play your piece, which it could be some massive sonata or concerto that you've had a couple weeks to prepare alongside all of your classes. And basically, as soon as you make a mistake, your teacher is ready there to just rip you to shreds. And the reason why that it has this sort of culture is because no matter what in life, you're going to be making mistakes in this music because it's very difficult. And the Western classical music is extraordinarily demanding in pitch, rhythm, artistic expression, individuality, and control, as well as nuance and sincerity.
Yeah.
Now, with that in mind, no matter what you do, you are always going to be facing some sort of extreme level of scrutiny. And that's why the teachers do it that way. But when you walk into a shakuhachi lesson and it's so much different. It's not that sort of it's not that level of highbrow, and people are usually shocked by that. That it's there is an exactness, there is the right note, there is the wrong note, but there are many ways to interpret it. And the general scope of it, especially in our school, which is the Watazumi Do and the
Hmm.
Chikushinkai, um, people are very open to interpretation and very open to new ideas in this community. How would you, okay, respond?
Cheers. Cheers to that.
Mhm. So is your experience in conservatory the similar fashion?
Yes, of course. I mean, here here at the conservatory, yeah, you know, the thing about what I it's really nice to be kind of like living in limbo.
Mm,
If
mhm.
you know what I mean, because
I yeah.
we have the best of two worlds.
Mhm.
I do orchestra and I do folk music, and you know, and what I have found about the Western way and the like studying Shakuhachi is that when you go to a conservatory, what you look is perfection. You know,
Yeah.
it's you look for perfection, and you look for to be in a standard of what is required to be what they call a really good musician. Now, going to the Shakuhachi classes, and also I have found these like in Indian music, and you know, uh, the most important thing about this music is the soul of the music. It doesn't matter. Uh, it's not it's not focused on perfection, but on the feeling and what you have to say with the music. That's what I have found, and that really, you know, struck me when I started studying this. It's like, you know, it's this is beautiful. It's a really beautiful way to approach music also.
You know, it's and this brings up actually a really good conversation to have about this idea of perfection that has kind of swamped over the Western world since the dawn of recording.
Hmm.
And I think a lot of the great flute players, I mean, the really, really great flute players from the 1930s and 40s would never make it into a conservatory today
No,
because
no.
because there's, I mean, there's just too many wrong notes. And however, those players are so much more sincere and colorful,
Yeah,
and um it's, you know, there was an interesting article recently, and I say recently, a couple years ago probably, where they submitted Horowitz piano recordings to a Juilliard audition, and he didn't make it. And we're talking
yeah,
Horowitz. I mean, like, most, there's lots of wrong notes,
yeah,
but the passion and the narrative of the song, the composition itself, is being transmitted to the audience in a way that can't be done today, or it can be, but by very few people, because it's not the focus of the Western Conservatory.
yeah. It's you know, my guru from India used to he tells all the time, it's not about ego, it's not about you or us, it's not about our perfection doing music. it's it's just about the music.
Hmm.
It's just about what you have to say and what you have to share, and you know, and even you know, I call it a long time ago, well, not that long, but I took lessons with Alain Marion, the professor at the National Conservatory in Paris,
Hmm.
and I played one concerto for him, and I was studying one concerto with him, and I was having mistakes. Well, what I thought there were mistakes about breathing. like I was breathing more because I was nervous, and I was doing, some one note here and there, and I started kind of like have in the middle of the lesson a breakdown because there were like 100 flute players there hearing me, and I was just like starting to be really nervous and stuff. And he was just like, "Hey, chill out. It's not about the breathing. It's not about the wrong notes. If you are doing phrasing and you are doing music and you are having fun, you know, and
Mhm.
you want to share that love to music, that's okay. It's really convincing. It's not about perfection, and that's what I love about Shakuhachi and Indian music. And it's like it's not about perfection. It's just about what you really have to share and what your soul has.
It's
You
actually
know.
quite interesting because I'm preparing a concert for next week, and by the time this uploads, this concert will be done and over with. But it's
Uh-huh.
we're talking for the time now, and it's very related. I have a concert on Friday
Mhm,
uh, with a string quartet, and so
mhm,
we have a full program, and it's all contemporary music.
mhm.
And I actually find myself nervous in making mistakes where the rhythms are wrong, the notes are wrong, and but I don't feel this way when I play a lot of other types of music, but it's specifically contemporary music. But also that's because I have composer blood, and
Yeah,
I know what it's like when an ensemble like they do a perfect performance and they miss one note, and you go, oh,
I know. Well, that's your Western
yeah, it's my Western brain.
brain just kicks in.
And it's interesting though because I had the same conversation in Japan with one of my shakuhachi player friends,
Mhm,
and he says that he has this problem too with shakuhachi. That even like sometimes he gets into a Western brain thought because he graduated from Tokyo Gaidai,
mhm,
and they kind of teach that way of you got to be perfect. It's a
mhm,
Western university, even though they have a Hogaku portion of traditional music, it still
mhm.
has that element to it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It just happened to me last week. You know, I I played in the orchestra, the Lion King, and I play all the ethnic flutes for that. And it's really free. I mean, I was playing there, and it was, you know, there were like six horns because it was a huge orchestra. There were like six horns and four oboes, and it was massive. And it was just me playing the ethnic flutes, and I didn't feel threatened. I didn't feel nervous. I really was enjoying playing because it was free. Even though I was reading the music, the way of playing and approach the music with these instruments, it's really different. two
Yeah.
days after after that, I went to play with an orchestra, and I played a Mozart uh, overture, and I was shitting in my pants.
You
I was
went
just
right,
like,
yeah, you went
because
right back to that
I
way
was
of
just like,
thinking.
I thought all tight, and like I have to do this perfect and don't miss any note, and it was just like, I'd rather to go and do the other thing, and in the other thing I was a soloist, so
Hmm.
it was kind of weird. It's that shift of mine. It's kind of interesting.
It's also interesting though that critics they never from most of the reviews that I've received of myself and of that other people that I've read, critics never really talk about the intent of the musician, like what they're trying to actually transmit to somebody. Like, did they pour their soul out? That's not a conversation that happens. It's how in tune were they? How was the ensemble? What were they wearing?
Yes, yes, yes. That's one. That's, for example, what when everything like my guru says kicks in. It's all about the ego. In Western music, it's just everything. It's ego. It's
Hmm.
perfection. It's just fashion. It's just, it's not what you have to say. It's weird. It's even though I love music and I love playing Bach and I playing Beethoven and everything, um, it's kind of weird. You have to. It's like going into a box.
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah, I
it's
I
it's.
I know what you mean. And there is this oh my god, it's like an obsession with
Mhm,
the classical community on perfect rhythm and perfect pitch and all this sort of stuff. And it's a really really peculiar thing because most of my favorite recordings are from 1950, 1960 of violin players and viola players.
mhm,
String quartet stuff even earlier, 1940s. And man, it's a much different sound. It's a much different feel where
mhm,
it's not about it's not about pitch. Really what the huge focus is at that time is color
mhm,
and also vibrato.
mhm.
And I kind of feel like today we get stuck in this everyday vibrato where it's every note gets the same sort of vibrato, which really releases no tension whatsoever.
Yeah, it's like a hamburger with a lot of, you know, like vibrato is like ketchup into the music. It's like,
Yeah,
okay, it works sometimes,
yeah.
but it doesn't have to be there all the time.
One of the favorite things that my one of my teachers taught me, my viola professor, and I think it's what really helped me gravitate towards Japanese music so much, is he studied with a violist, Gerald Stanek, from Canada. He was famous in the fine arts string quartet. And one of the things that he continuously would talk about in lessons is the idea of the role of the left hand and the role of the right hand and as a string player. And that the role of the left hand is to select the color and select the tint or shade. So if you pick a note and you start vibrating, you're picking like a red. And then if you vibrate really fast, it becomes salmon. If you vibrate really slow, it becomes almost like a Scarborough kind of color.
Hmm.
Then the role of the bow, and we can just replace this with the role of the breath, is the type of paintbrush that you're going to be using. Are you going to use
Sure.
a 1/4 inch brush? Or are you going to use a fine detailed brush? What kind of stroke are you going to use on the canvas that is the musical piece of art?
Hmm.
And that really clicked for me. And I just knew at that point, okay, I understand how important every single note is in Western classical music, beyond the point of that it has to be perfectly in tune, because music is an expression of human nature, right?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
us ourselves, right? And it's we're trying to jump into the unknown of our reality and really say something that can't be spoken with words. And not all that stuff should be pretty, and none of that stuff, not all of it is pretty.
Yeah, you just had a point that I actually last week I had a student and we were playing one sonata, Muchinsky sonata,
Hmm.
um, and that sonata is, you know, it's rhythmic and strong and with a lot of energy, and she wanted to play it really pretty.
Oh
Like,
yeah.
no, no, I was just like, you have to be nasty to play that. You have to be really tough and you have to be really empowering and with a lot of energy. And even in classical music, not all the time the sound has to be pretty
Yeah.
in order to project uh, whatever you want to say.
Hmm.
It's like it doesn't have to be pretty all the time.
One of the things that
Shouldn't be pretty all the time.
one of my self criticisms is that when I play, I think that I focus too much on every single note being as beautiful as possible. And I like that sound. I mean, I like just beautiful, full, rich sound of flute playing.
Mhm,
And it's usually the comment that I get from concerts is, "Wow, you have such a beautiful sound," or "Your tone is so incredible."
mhm.
And but then I
It is,
forget,
by the
like, oh, thank you.
way. Cheers
I
for that.
know, I know.
I still, no, I'm self-conscious that you have that knife
But
there.
that's one of the comments that I get the most of is, you have this incredibly gorgeous tone, and it's very thick, and it travels through the concert hall effortlessly. But I keep forgetting, like, I can make some really nasty raunchy sounds, and especially in Hongyoku, I need to
Mhm.
I need to overdo that. I need to make it, like, if I want a nasty sound, damn it, I need to make a nasty sound, not like just do it halfway. Go all the way.
Yes.
As my mom would say, don't half-ass it, use your full ass.
Yeah, of course. Well, even to play nasty, it requires practice.
Oh yeah. Oh,
It
absolutely.
requires practice. I mean, for me, for example, one of the things that I struggle the most about playing Shakuhachi, and yeah, and it's I think about the sounds, and you've noticed that I play the flute,
Yeah.
and being and I was taught to play beautiful all the time. To
Mhm.
sorry, to play with a rich tone, and to play with a round tone, and always focused, and always so for me, what I'm struggling about playing the Shakuhachi is just I have to unlearn what I have learned,
Yeah,
and what I
and what
do
you've been doing
what
for
I do
years.
naturally, that I
Mhm.
always look for the best sound, and I it's really a struggle for me. Like, for example, with like we were talking about last lesson with merry notes.
Mhm.
I'm trying to do merry notes, but I struggle because I cannot make them as rich as the other ones, and it's I just get frustrated, and the half finger, or the microtone is
Mhm.
not in tune, and I'm just uncomfortable playing it, and it's just and that requires practice. And so for you, like, if you want to do a nasty sound, you have to practice it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's that's the thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's
Practice make master.
yeah. And it's I always get asked a lot, like, how was I able to become a shihan so quickly?
Mhm,
And eh, well, I think there's a couple answers to that question, which is, one is the fact that I had already been trained in Western classical music, and I knew all these terminology, and I
of
could, I
course.
had basically near perfect pitch and a really great sense of music in general. In
Mhm,
addition to that, I had already been able to speak Japanese at a mediocre level, but I could speak Japanese.
mhm,
And then the third on top of that, that really made it so I could become a shihan so quickly, is the fact that I was studying Japanese aestheticism in written poetry and art in
mhm,
Japanese.
mhm.
And those three things actually really helped me in developing a way to practice. And
Of course.
I could really practice for 3 hours a day
Mhm,
to obtain that level. So actually the first three levels of Shakuhachi went by like really, really quickly. Like, I would say probably in the first year I got the first three levels, no problem.
mhm.
It was the last two levels that really took me a long time, especially Jun Shihan, because there's a lot of music and it's a lot of difficult stuff. But when you're practicing nonstop and you're taking lessons sometimes twice a week, you find a way. And I was a student. I wasn't working a professional job. I had already quit violin and viola at that point, so all I
Mhm.
was doing was playing the instrument. So
Good.
that's
You
right.
quit violin and viola. Good for you.
Yeah, that was, I think that was like the best thing in my life. I had to, it wasn't really even like that I quit. It was the fact that I had an
I know,
injury. So, oh, but
I
yeah,
know.
I know, you know, but people watching don't know that, through it was through an injury, that is what brought me to Shakuhachi, the opportunity to do so.
Hmm. Well, that's really good.
Hmm.
That's really good. Uh, for me, I know. For me, I think it's going quick. It's going.
No, it is definitely going quickly for you because.
It's going fast. So kind of fast. I wish I could have more time to practice. Actually, being an active musician is just really difficult to sit and.
But
Uh,
let me tell you one thing is that technically for a shoden level, in order to earn that, what you should be able to do is make basic sounds
mhm,
and be able to play basic songs.
mhm.
I don't do that. I'm so strict. If you look at other teachers and some of their listing, and this is probably not a good thing on my end because I'm being too strict and I really am asking a little bit too much from my students, because you have to remember that most people that are looking for this entry level position of mastery have
Mhm.
never played an instrument before.
Yeah, yeah,
and
I know.
and so I'm asking probably a little bit too much, but I really feel like you should be able to play 20 pieces of music before I say, all right, now you're at a beginner level.
Mhm,
Then, and moving it up, so on. But I actually require my beginner students to be able to do almost a full daimeri before
mhm.
they receive a shoden. And that's actually an okuden requirement and for most people in Japan.
Wow.
So I mean, I really am too strict, but I kind of like it that way. So
Well, I'm a teacher too, and I'm kind of picky too.
yeah.
And the thing is that a really good filter, I mean, if you are doing like a studio, and you want your studio to be like, you know,
I know exactly what you're
nice,
saying. You want your studio to be respected.
to be respected. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
and
just like
so, if you have a high standard, that word
you
will get
need
a
people to commit. Actually, you really
yeah.
need people to commit. That's
Yeah.
that's that's the thing,
Mhm.
because you are putting your time and your effort and your knowledge
Mhm.
at the service of everyone. So what you expect it's for everyone to be committed enough to take what you have to offer. That's at least what's my way of thinking about teaching. I just have like 3 or 4 students. I don't have much,
Mhm. Well,
you
because
know.
you actually you perform a lot with the orchestra, so
Yeah.
that makes sense. Well, I want to talk a little bit about the orchestra stuff, and I want to talk about the Lion King. Can
Okay.
you fill people in really quickly on the Lion King stuff while I grab another glass of wine?
Okay.
Okay,
Well, what do you want me to say about Lion King?
so start talking about the well, first off, just talk about the actual gig itself and how you got it and what your role was.
Well, okay. Go to get your wine. Well, the thing is that when I started working, I was a student, and all my life, also, aside the orchestra work and the classical musical, the classical music world or work that I have, I also do musicals. I work for a company in Mexico that makes all the runs of the major musicals on its run on their run here, on their tour.
Hmm.
So my first one was The Beauty and the Beast, and I have done uh, Phantom of the Opera and Fiddler on the Roof, The Producers, Wicked, you name it. And The Lion King is a special one for flute players because it's kind of like the top of the game. The
Yeah.
Lion King requires for the flute player to play not only the concert flutes, but also a set of 13 flutes from all over the world. So when I was told, actually, I was told that Lion King was coming to Mexico a year before. Even I got to make the audition, because every time that I'm gonna play one show, the musical supervisors from Broadway or London or whatever, they come and they make auditions here in Mexico, and then if I pass the audition, I just get the gig, and I do the season with them. So I started preparing the audition. I started preparing 1 year before the Lion King came to Mexico. I didn't know at the time. At that time, I was just a regular flute player. I used to play just flute and piccolo and G flute, and I didn't. Occasionally, I used to play another flutes in the shows, like recorder or penny whistle, but it was not much. Then when they told me about Lion King, I started making the research about the flutes. Which flutes did I need? And there was not a lot of information. So I started looking in the internet. One thing led to another. And then one day I was just in front of the webpage of one of the Lion King flute players in Broadway. So I wrote her and I told her that I was making the audition. And so I started studying with them, with the people from New York. They told me where to buy the flutes and, the flute makers and everything. We started playing, and then I made the audition. Fortunately, I won. And that's how this journey started, because at the very beginning, I just learned I just learned the tunes of the show,
Yeah.
But I didn't know anything about Bansuri or anything about the Indian music or the pan flutes or the music of the. But then people started asking, it's like, and this flute, what about this flute? And what kind of music? And what kind of, and I needed to know what kind of ornamentation of each flute I had to do. So
Yeah, to keep the sound authentic.
yeah. So what I started to do is like, okay, I thought I had to go a little deeper. So I started learning by Skype with some teachers. And that's how everything started. I mean, I just got so immersed in, studying, first Indian classical music, and then Romanian music and Indian music. And one day, I don't know why, a Shakuhachi just got into my hands, because then I got the flute fever and I started buying flutes
Oh
from all
gosh.
over the world.
I talked about this in my purchasing Shakuhachi video about,
Well,
guitar
let me.
players are the worst about this, but there is flute fever. It's a real thing.
I got the flute. I have 150 flutes in my house right now,
Oh my god.
from all over the world. And because all the flutes are diatonic, you have to buy like 12 of them.
Yeah. I
In one octave. And if you want 2 octaves, well, you have to buy 24. So it's kind of like,
7, 8, 9. I have 9 Shakuhachi, and I already think that's a lot. But
yeah, well, imagine 150 actually. And I got my first Shakuhachi. It was a gift from a friend, actually, kind of. Uh, it was a Shakuhachi, like a souvenir.
okay.
Shakuhachi. You couldn't make a sound. Even to this day, I cannot make a sound of it.
Yeah.
But then I thought,
Was it as bad as the eBay flute I tried?
worse. You
Oh
cannot play
my
this thing.
god.
You cannot play this thing.
Send it to me. I'll make a video out of it.
Okay. And and I was just like, okay, how am I gonna play this? Like, so I was just like, okay, there is always an internet tutorial about these flutes. Well, it's that's that's my reality.
No,
Like there is
it's
always.
the world. It's the world now. I mean, look,
Well, that's how
the
I find
first,
you, though.
uh,
Like I got
yes,
into a tutorial. Well, I got into a tutorial who led me into a web page on Facebook about Shakuhachi, and you were there, and I saw your playing, and I liked it, and I wrote you. That's
mm.
how we practically we met.
And yeah, but that's the kind of the way the world works too. Because even when I have like, okay, if I don't know how to do something on YouTube, for example, and I want to learn how to do something, I literally go to YouTube and I type in, "How do you do this on YouTube?" And there's
Yeah,
a
of
video
course.
tutorial. I mean, or even like, okay, let's say I want to learn about this wine, right? Which
Hmm.
is Mesada. It's from Oregon, right?
Hmm.
I believe so. Yeah, it's from Oregon. And I want to know about that region and whatever.
Hmm.
I can go into YouTube and I can type in the grape flavor profiles from this area. And there's somebody who made a tutorial or a review about this wine, about that region, and talks about the. I mean, YouTube is one of these incredible resources of it's just a wealth of knowledge. And
You have to take care, though, because my
yes,
first
of
teacher
course.
was not good. Well, I was lucky. I was lucky enough to found this first teacher, actually,
Yes,
who taught me at least how to make a sound and the basis
sure,
of the instrument. And I got a decent Shakuhachi with him.
sure.
That's the one that I play, and I'm really grateful for that. You know,
And
but
and
it
and
took
so
me two
that
years to make a scale.
and
Like,
but that's the thing as well with back in the day when you had to go to a library and you have to get a book and you'd read through it and it'd be like 300 pages long, and then you'd pick up another book that would basically say the exact opposite of the book you just read, and then you have to do like all this cross referencing. And the thing that's nice about the internet is that when you do read something, there's always, most of the time at the bottom, there's always a comment or a forum right afterwards
yes,
where people will tell you this guy's BS, or you can see kind of how people are reacting to it, and which leads you to say, yes, I can follow this person and be a little bit more comfortable with their authority because other experts in this area are following them and saying that this thing is right and this thing is good.
yeah,
So that's kind of the brilliance of YouTube with the thumbs up and the thumbs down.
yeah.
And that helps a lot. So like I do watch a lot of wine videos on YouTube, and if a video does have a lot of thumbs down, I know, okay, well, I
Okay.
don't think I can trust this video.
Yeah, well, the thing about this first teacher is that you know if as my mother say, if you don't know, it's it's the same as if you don't, it's like you don't see, you know.
Hmm.
So I didn't know about that. I didn't know at that time about the Shakuhachi and about you know the performance and about the sound and about a lot of things. I was in that matter. I was a really truly beginner. I couldn't. It took me like a month to get a sound of the instrument. Being a
Hmm.
flute player,
Yeah,
um,
which that's a long time for a flute player.
yeah, I know,
Yeah.
I know.
It's
Well,
just,
I had that. Uh,
well, what I mean by that is that compared to other instruments,
yeah,
shakuhachi takes so much longer.
yeah. It's really it's. I think Shakuhachi, and I can say it without you know, I think making the mistake of of, of saying it. It's one of them, if don't the most difficult flutes to play.
Hmm.
Shakuhachi and Nei
Oh
are
yeah,
just
nay is so
Nei
hard.
is just really hard. It's just really hard. But Shakuhachi, it's also really hard to play.
Hmm.
So, well, that's how I began, and then I found you, and I started hearing music, and I just fell in love with the sound and with the music and with the feeling of the music. And then I was studying also in Indian classical music, so it has kind of like some similarities about Zen music and the
Mm-hmm.
ragas and the approach of the
Mm.
music, and and so I just fell in love, and that's how I ended up making an interview with you,
Yeah.
with wine and a knife.
Yeah, with wine and a knife. Gotta watch out. These interviews are getting deadly.
Mhm.
Well, the thing is though, there's one of the things that I've been lacking to do, or I don't know what the right word would be for this, is um I've really wanted to actually perform more of the traditional stuff and then upload it to YouTube. But
Mhm.
I think one of the things I'm like, I upload most of the contemporary music that I perform and commission because I get to spend a lot more time on it, and that's usually where I get you know paid to do things. So I do have lots of traditional pieces up online that I've performed that I'm very very happy with. But I mean, I think if you look at my of how many performance videos I have up online, it's probably something like maybe 30 or 40
Mm.
videos. But what people don't know is that I actually have probably over 1,000 videos of me performing on my computer because
Cool.
I record everything, but I don't post nearly. I almost post nothing
Mhm.
basically. I basically just pick and choose what I like, and and sometimes I perform the same piece. Like I mean that nesting cranes one that I have that I did at the Schwob School of Music. I've probably played that piece 150 times, and I probably have 150 videos of that piece on
Cool.
my computer. But
Cool.
I chose that one because I'm very very picky with everything that I do, just like you are as well.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's part of like the musical disease of that's that perfection thing coming back in, listening back.
Self judging.
Yeah, you are your own worst critic.
Self judging is just the worst.
But I think you need it. We talked about this actually at one of our lessons. When one of our lessons went on from a regular length lesson, and then it started getting longer and longer and longer because we started talking about the we because I have this theory that you need to have self-doubt in order to be a really really great musician.
It's really healthy.
Yeah, well, I mean, because if you constantly think, "Oh, I'm the shit," and then you never like work, I mean, you're gonna get really bad really quickly.
Yeah.
And there's this great um it's not a verse, it's a line from the Torah,
Hmm.
and I can't remember where I think it's probably in the Psalms. And the line basically states that when you feel like you are nothing, remember of how special you are, that the fact that you have a life in this universe, there it's so
Of
massive
course.
and you have a life. But when you feel like you are amazing and you're doing so great, remember that you're just a speck in the universe. And so it has to be a balance, that you know that sometimes that you have a special gift, and we all have these special gifts. It's just maybe not being music. But we also have to remember that, in the end of the day and at the end of our lives, we're really just a small little, not even an amoeba in the view of the universe.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course. Of course. Of course. For me, what I think, and because I judge myself really really hard every time, and
Yeah.
I think in a way it's kind of healthy,
Hmm.
because that makes you keep going, and that makes you grow, and that self doubt makes you want to be better all the time,
Hmm.
If you get to a point where you said, okay, I'm it, you know I'm here, and enjoy me.
Yeah.
It's not, I think
You know,
where
and there
to
it's
decadence
and
start.
there's a time and a place for it. You know, the
From time
practice the
from sorry.
the practice room is a great time to beat yourself up and work on the things that you need to work on. And then when you walk on stage, it is look at me now. Like, you know, you
Yeah,
have to switch. And that's what's really tough is that even, you know, I've had it in the morning when I'm warming up and I'm in the practice room and I'm, you know, really talking myself down. Like, you got to get this. You did not work hard enough. Then I walk out on stage. I'm like, I'm the best.
yeah.
No one can play this better than me. That attitude though is extraordinarily important because you can't have doubt on stage.
No, 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 no. And you really have to know, you know, when to stop and smell the flowers.
You mean the
You know,
wine, right?
and the wine in the road. It's like, yeah, it's like you can also enjoy a great performance, and then the next day it's like, okay, I have to keep working.
Yeah. You know, when I did the interview with Kyle, um, I really like the idea of his words, okay, let go.
Hmm.
You know, like I had a great performance. Okay, let go.
Yeah,
Now I had a really crappy day. Okay, let
let
go.
go. Yeah.
And that's really, you know, I didn't realize that that's a lot of times I think that's what I've been doing in my life that's attributed to a lot of success. But now the fact that I know it, I already feel a lot more success happening so quickly because I'm not I I think that when you
You are doing it in a conscious,
yeah, in a conscious
conscious.
manner. Yeah,
Yeah.
and but you know like people always say like don't dread on the past or whatever.
Uh-huh.
But you know they use that word of dread in only in a negative sense. But
Hmm.
you can do it in a positive sense. You know like
Of course.
you do this one big performance and that's all you can talk about your whole life and then you can never move past it
Yeah. Yeah.
and you get stuck there. And you know even for me when I've done extraordinarily big performances with paychecks I couldn't imagine, i've
Hmm.
I've started telling myself, okay, that was great, let go, go on to the next thing.
What's
What's
next?
next? Yeah.
What's next? You know,
Hmm.
what's
Yeah.
next? Yeah, yeah. That just happened to me last Sunday. It's like that. I
Yeah,
have this.
because you played for like 10,000 people.
There were like 10,000 people there. I played Shakuhachi for, it was amazing because I had to change at the last minutes one of the flutes. Some of the solos were written for Ney, and my Ney was just not. My Ney didn't want to work
Yeah.
at all. It didn't want to work. So they gave me like uh, the permission, so to speak, to
Hmm.
use whatever flutes I wanted to play in order, to match kind of like the sounds
Yeah.
and so I decided to play all the solos for the Ney with Shakuhachi.
I think that's just a better choice in
Yeah,
general. I mean,
actually it sounded better. I was shitting in my pants because I
yeah.
didn't know. The first performances with Sakahachi, you you never know if you're gonna blow and it will sound. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I was just right before the conductor just put the hand down. I was just like, oh my god, like, oh my god, blow. Okay, ah, now I'm sounding, you
Hmm.
know. But it was a 3-hour concert, and I
Mm.
was doing solo after solo after solo with like 13 flutes, and in front of 10,000 people, and it was
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing. And it was a really really big achievement in my career
Mm.
because of the
Yeah.
company I was working in and everything. Um, and then that performance. was done on Sunday night, and I came home and I was just like, okay, I have to get ready mentally because tomorrow I have to go and play in an orchestra and I have to play Mozart,
Hmm.
and I have to travel and I didn't practice that much. So I have to practice and I have to travel and I have to make, I have to pack and I just forgot about the that that performance. And
Hmm.
after I played the Mozart and after I played with the orchestra, when I was coming back to Mexico, I was just like, oh my God, I played in front of 10,000 people. That was so cool, And that will happen next week.
Mm,
Saturday again. I'm playing for the Hugh Jackman tour, so
nice.
that's it's gonna be full of people. I mean, I think it's sold out already. And
Wow.
it's just crazy.
Well, thank you so much for coming out to hang out and have a glass of wine with me. Well, half a bottle at this point. And
Well, with a knife, I didn't have a choice.
yeah, that's watch out.
I didn't have a choice, actually.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing. Like I always say in a lot of these interviews, I have the best interviewees and I've got the best
Thank you.
students. I've got the best friends. I mean,
Oh,
it's interesting because a lot of my students, they've become friends and I mean, I love seeing you guys every single week. It's a lot of fun.
yeah, and for us too. I mean, I even if even if it doesn't seems like, I really look forward for. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. I really look forward for every week's lessons. I mean, it's just
Mm.
it's really now it's really nice, and now I think, um, and that's what I like. The relationship with my teachers, to become really close and to talk about these things and talk about life and wine and music, and that's just the real purpose of doing all this.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful. It's really nice, and I thank you for that.
Oh, well, thank you very much. That's I really am actually appreciative that you said those specific words of you want that relationship with your teacher because that's the same thing that I always wanted with my teachers was being able to, you know, meet outside of a lesson for a glass of wine to just talk about life and whatever because of how much that we can learn from each other.
Yeah, of
They
course.
and like, this of course I'm teacher for Shakuhachi, but I'm not teacher for life. We are kind of in this together and, figuring out things. So it's important to have that sort of community for us to support each other.
Of course. uh, I am in my beliefs. I don't think, or I think, sorry, I think everything happens for a reason, and for a reason you cross my path, and now we are just walking this road together. So there is no point for me to just click one button and it's like, okay, say what you have to say, and I play, and that's it.
Yeah,
There is
that's
there is more underneath that, and I. It's always nice to learn about the people that you are interacting with, and with my students are like that. I'm like that, you know.
Mhm.
Like everyone is invited to come to everyone's lesson, and we talk and we share pizza afterwards, and it's like
Yeah.
it's kind of like a community, as you say, and it's really nice.
Yeah, I've started actually with people that come to my home for lessons. I've offered that as well, and a lot of times they stay. And there are people will come and they'll stay here for 3 hours, and there's a group of people here just playing and doing their lesson. Everybody's like they really enjoy it. So it's
Mm.
but when it's time to go, you need to leave.
It's a shame. It's a shame. I'm like 2 hours away by plane.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna have you come up very soon. Because we have there's some places I want to take you as well. And it would be nice to have one of my students come up here and do something with me so we can actually play a duet of some sort. Uh
Sure.
so
That will be awesome. That will be awesome.
Well,
Well,
um, yes, thank you guys so much for watching the interview. Again, this is Alejandro Vasquez. I hope, am I saying it last name right? Vasquez? Yeah.
Vasquez.
Oh, whatever. I don't, I can't do this.
Well, at least you said at least you said my name right,
Yeah, Alejandro.
Alejandro.
Yeah. So Alejandro Vasquez is how it is in Japanese. So Alejandro-san, arigatou gozaimashita. So yeah, thank you so much for watching the video. And as always, there's always an interview on Fridays. There's lessons on Wednesdays. There's collaborations on Saturdays, and then there's upcoming, as well as I'm doing more things with the YouTube on Tuesdays, which is looking to be like performance videos on Tuesdays, and on Monday there are reaction videos, and I keep adding more things. So always give me your suggestions, and I'm really looking forward to making this YouTube channel this a resource for Japanese music.